Hello everyone, I dressed up for you today in my nice shirt and I thought we'd look at just where I'm at just now with my guitar playing, which is very much inspired by Robben Ford and other people who try to put in jazz influenced licks into their playing, and it all relates to playing outside the blues scale and all that kind of stuff. So let's just, to keep this simple and to cram as much into this little video as I can, let's just steal licks. The ones that you don't like, fast forward. The ones that you do like, use the little cog, slow them down if you have to. Remember, YouTube has got that wee cog where you can slow everything down to half speed and quarter speed and so on. So let's get right into it. First thing to learn, that lick at the beginning, what such a useful thing that is, especially when you're in A or G, but you can do it in other keys, where I was just going. So fretted note, just the blues so far, then the minor third of that blues scale, but then hammering off to the G, which is the flat 7, returning to the fretted A note, then going to the fret down from before, which is the 2 note, and again I hammer off and rotate them. And if you can add a bit of damping with your hand, it creates a real speedy, flurry type of flavour. And then if you can add one of your licks that you've already got, that's preferably quite fast in the same key, join the two together. So I went. So. See, that's very different, an unusual thing to do. That's usual, but that's not. Not heard a lot of that before, but I've always done it. Just to create an extra note. Love that one. A double note bend. that's all that is. Next lick. Learn this chord. You probably already know it. In fact, some of you told me what it was. When you, let's see, I'm in A7. When I go a fret up, that's the vamp, pretty much, from A7 to B flat 7. But if you add the 6th note into that chord, listen to that, it just sounds like Robben Ford or jazz. So A7, then B flat 13. I'll just do it with the thumb like I was doing. So that was the vamp, then that. Now, because it's doing that, and we talk all the time about playing the changes, it seems silly to, I could just play blues, for example, leave me playing straight blues and not playing the changes. But it's so much better when you can play the changes, etc. So that's really all I'm doing. Let's keep this video short and snappy. So that's your chord. What a great chord. It's a 13th chord. It's great when you play it one fret up from where you are. So if you're in A7, by the way, it wouldn't work for A minor so much, but A7, one fret up, make it the 13th. Wonderful tool to have in your toolbox to raise tension and add interest. Or make it as a precursor to your dominant, to your 5 chord. So in A, your 5 chord is E, but how many times have you heard me go to there first? So that is just an F13. Brilliant. Now, back to my licks. Steal away. So that is just me walking up an A7 chord. That, of course, is me playing the changes because the band has moved to a B flat. Whoa. And then just A7, then down 3 frets has a diminished sound. So, then blues. Then the B flat 13 to play the changes. And merging licks across that and that to get me back to that. So, what a great lick. And at that point you want to land on that when you feel the band arrive back at the A. So, and as you feel the band want to go back to the A, by the way, as I say, you can play these licks even when that isn't the vamp. Across a bog standard A vamp, you could do that. Oh, I just love that. Slow that down, learn it. Absolutely brilliant. What came next? Oh yeah, then the scale. I was using predominantly the half step, whole step scale that I learned from Robben Ford and various other people. We've talked about diminished before, so diminished is a 3 fret separation. Half step, whole step would visit all these exact notes, but because it's half step then a whole step, you get an extra note. So the scale sounds like this in entirety. Half step, whole step, 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 half step, etc. That's the sound of it. I suggest you learn it up and down so you can find your way of fingering it. My way of fingering it is this. To the point that I can now do it quite fast. You notice I was doing that as a signature lick. In some ways it's a cop-out just to do a lick that is just the scale, but because it's such an unusual sounding scale, if you can play it musically where some of it is held back off the beat and some of it is rushed and make it music, It's great. I mean, that was nice. I like that there. Love that. So that's where I'm at with that scale. But in the words of Robben Ford, and I heard him say this, don't feel locked in by what you've just learned. That may be the scale, but if you want to go and then return to the scale, so that was in the scale, that was in the scale, but that was not in the scale, that was not in the scale, that was, and that was, but feel free to add in little bits that, and then go with blues, so you could go and put in whatever other things you know. But that is my bread and butter just now, this. And of course you can do licks around that. For example, things like that, or there's another one I did. Again, playing the changes. We were on that chord, the band was about to go back. I think it would have sounded a bit like this. What's this? And so on. So all that was at that point, the band had been on that and was running out of time to stay on that. It was going to go back to the A, and my brain went into scale of that chord. It played incorporating some blue notes from the same chord. It sounds a bit like this. Yeah. What does it sound like? That's right. So, and arrive back on the A note with the band. But in that moment, it raised the level of my playing, it raised the interest in the listener's ear, hopefully. Then I put in some weird stuff. I stole that off a pedal demo player, Mike Herman's. I've been listening to some of the pedal demos from Mike Herman's, I think his name is, a Boston guitar player. And he did something like that, I can't remember, but it was something like, I thought, you're not allowed to do that, that's not allowed. And it was brilliant, and I thought, I'm having that, because it was new for me. So all I was doing there was, but it has that same dissonance type feel. And that was just off-key stuff that I wanted to put in at the time. What other licks can I show you? Here's a great one. How good is that? So that's just again based around that half step, whole step. So far it's just the scale. I just did a wee twirly. And I even formed a B flat chord there at that point. And then I went into, because we've moved to the B flat and back to A mix. So here's another one. Playing the blues, we've all done things like this. But that's weird. Starting off with A, or with A type, a lick that forms part of your normal blues routines, but then just when you get to the E string, that would form part of your normal blues routine. But move it up a fret, and I like to slide it down back to my blues sensibilities. So that's a great one. By the way, the diminished run can be played depending on where you start it. Diminished being the 3 fret separation, can be played against a minor key, as long as you're careful when you put it in and where you start your diminished. But the half step, whole step, which you could argue is the same sort of thing, because it still lands on the same places as a diminished, but has more notes. Those more notes include a major third. So that's why my vamp today was based around just a nice A7. A minor, I'd end up doing this. So that note and that note are major thirds and would not go against an A minor chord very well. Major third. Major third. No good. Major third. So it's major key we're talking about here when we're talking about the half step, whole step. And because of that, it's lovely to land on that major, like with that lick I just told you about. Now my normal blues playing would take me to the flat third, because it's kind of cooler than the major third, if you know what I mean. Even if you're in a major key, it's kind of cool to go. But if I'm playing half step, whole step, it becomes cooler to go that jump from that major third back to the root, and then typically followed by a flat 7. Just a lovely sound, that suspended 4, major third, root 5, flat 7. Just got a lovely sound. If you listen to, for example, the Ballad of John Henry with Joe Bonamassa and Eric Gales shredding the shit out of their guitars, which I think is essential watching for any guitar enthusiast. That Ballad of John Henry finishes with a massive, just big long vamp. It might even be one chord, but I think the bass player probably maybe throws in a few references to that B flat idea. But if you listen to Joe and Eric's playing, it's all that kind of that type of raised semitone lick. And that features so heavily in the Ballad of John Henry, as does the flat 7. So these licks really suit that. I'm getting excited, eh? I'm getting animated. I love all this stuff. What else can I show you? Oh, here's a great one, a simple one, but it's so Knopfler. Don't know if Knopfler's ever done this, but he probably has. How nice is that? In context, this one here, watch this. Dead simple. How nice is that? Actually, I stole it off Robben Ford, but it sounds more Knopfler to me. But this type of, we've all done that in the blues. I'm going. It's just a different way of fingering it. It's like instead of going left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, it's like left foot, right foot. What was that? It's a stumble. It's a to take you into other things. Another one. Now watch this. Once again. A, that's A blues. That's tension from the B flat 13 and back to A. Once again. The band's now moving to the 13th again. Here's another one. Let me put this one in context. This one coming up now. Right, all that was what was it? It wasn't strictly in the half step, whole step scale, but there's a lot of notes that were. So blues so far. part of the half step, whole step. So I think it was that. Lots of that stuff. Half step rubs. Great, isn't it? So that was pretty much what was going on there. As I say, ditch the stuff you don't like, steal anything you can, remember to slow it down on YouTube, and just to prove that some of that tension stuff can go into just a basic A without that 13th chord, let me now see if I can record a loop that just involves the A, and I'll play these licks over it. Right, so here's just no 13th chord, just A. Do that? There's no 13th chord in there, and yet it still sounded kind of interesting when I went to those little, the place where the 5 chord or the turnaround would come. I went into a little tension lick, and it creates real interest and separates you from somebody who's just stuck in the blues scale. Going to go now. It's time for my lunch, and I shall see you on the next video. Hope you got something out of that, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.